A ridiculously active pattern will continue over the next couple of weeks, and it starts today with chances of severe weather pretty much every day from now through the next couple of weeks, as well as snow on the northern side of these systems. So, a wide range of very dynamic hazards possible pretty much every day for the next couple of weeks, and that's a big deal. So, in this video, we're going to cover all of that. So, if you consider liking this video, I would greatly appreciate it. If you enjoy the content, please consider that. And of course, subscribe to this channel. If you've not done so already, I would greatly appreciate that. But like I said in this morning's video, what I would appreciate even more is that you guys comment below where you're watching from. I would greatly appreciate knowing where my audience is and kind of getting to know you guys a little bit better. But moving on here, we're going to dive right in and get started with our hazards maps. So this is for tomorrow. This is not today's outlook. Today's outlook looks like this. As of right now, the time you're seeing it might change a little bit, but this is tomorrow's outlook. This is our for Wednesday. It's been in the makings for some time, and we're gonna have to watch this closely for any uptrends, downtrends, this and that. But we do know the hazards for this one now. They've kept it a slight risk, level 2 out of 5, from southern counties of Missouri all the way through central Texas down to the Waco area of Texas here, with a large green level 1 out of 5 risk surrounding that all the way up to the Cincinnati area. So pretty expansive area. We can break this down by type as well. Does have a 2% risk of a tornado, kind of in the middle of it there. A 5% and then 15% wind risk here. So there's that to consider as well. And then we also have the hail threat, which is the full size threat here, 5% in the brown and 15% in the yellow of seeing hail of some size. I think over an inch or so in diameter is the way that they do this. So we have that. That's tomorrow's, and the day after we have another very large slight risk in the panhandles of Texas, Oklahoma, and southern Kansas here. And this will be a big deal as well. We don't know the types, the hazard types for this one yet, but we do know that it exists. And I have, I would even say higher confidence in this one. I think there's more potential with this one. So we can move past that as well. And this is a big deal, a very big deal, guys. For day 4, this is, if I remember right, this would be our Friday or something. I think it's Friday. But we have these outlooks, guys, the way they do these day 4 through 8 outlooks, they look different. They only issue 15 and 30% risks in these. So the fact that they have issued a 30%, that's an enhanced level 3 out of 5 equivalent there over areas of Missouri down to the Red River in Oklahoma. So this is a really big deal for Thursday into Friday. So I have to watch this very closely. This is concerning that they've done this. This obviously the both of these risks are quite large. Even the lighter yellow shade, which is nothing to laugh at either, all the way up from the Milwaukee area down to Austin, Texas, huge area. And then the day after that, we're not. It doesn't say we got anything. So maybe after that we lose some predictability or potential with those. So moving past that, I'm going to set you guys up with how this is going to be working, and then we'll move into some future radar stuff. So here's the way our upper air pattern is set to progress. And when I say upper air, I mean a few miles. That's what I mean. And what you're looking at on this map is the wind speed a few miles up in the sky, 500 millibars. If you can see these little flags turn to a triangle, that means it's stronger. And these bolder purples that you see up here are also stronger winds. They both correlate to the same thing. So you can see, starting off right about now, our main jet stream is relegated way up here to the northern Canada, and you can see these little kinks in the flow, such as this one right here. That's a low pressure with its associated energy. And this is starting off this evening, right now, pretty much from now onwards. And you move this on, and this will just progress, and these little areas of enhanced flow are what gets storms going. That's what fires off storms, what sustains storms. So we move from Thursday and into Friday. So Friday in the afternoon, this is likely why we have that 15% risk. We have a very notable area here of these higher winds aloft. A shortwave trough right here, kind of positioned digging like this. and it's giving a glancing blow of flow to these regions. Could be just enough to get those storms going, and I think there'll be enough instability in the atmosphere to work with that they go severe. But moving past that one, there's that one, and then here's an interesting feature that continues showing up between the 6th and about the 10th. We have a big low pressure drop down to the Baja California region, and it sits there. It does not go anywhere. And we can see that here. It just sits there, it amplifies, it spins around, gains strength, and then finally begins to eject. This is getting into the morning of the 11th. I want to keep in mind that this is a time frame we're watching for a big storm to happen. On this run of the GFS, it does not happen, and the reason for that is because this trough kind of lags behind. Our main flow just is up here. We don't get some sort of big expansive trough like this. That's just not what happens. Some runs have done that. And it's important that I tell you that because sometimes these little short-term changes are not permanent. But this trough does eject, and it could bring with it, as we get into the 12th and the 13th, more severe potential because this kind of shortwave digging down here below the main jet looks even more favorable for severe weather, not as much a large winter weather and severe weather system, more just severe. This is getting added to the into the 13th here, and it rolls. This could bring a severe threat even further up to the north here, so I have to watch for that. And then we get out towards the end of these frames, another shortwave rolls through. This is like the 17th, 16th, and 17th of March. The little shortwave rolls through, and right out the end of the run here, there's another shortwave rolling through the southern plains. There's just a lot of little pieces of energy that will roll through the country that will get things going. And it's reflected by our dew points here. We'll start this off right about the time you're seeing this or so. And just work it on in time. You can see areas of blue are in the 60s with dew points and darker green. You really want to see darker green and blue over your area if you want to see severe weather. Just put it that way, very simple. Starting off now, you can just see these repeated surges north. This is for our threat tomorrow, so there's moisture in place and some sort of boundary there. And the threat after that, for Thursday, there's definitely a threat. The big slight risk that we have over in these areas to the west, there's definitely a risk for that. If we as we have this moisture spiking up to the north, we move this on, and for Saturday the 7th, Friday into Saturday, big severe threat on a day like this. Low pressure up in Nebraska here with adequate moisture spiking all the way to the central Iowa area. Even further north, big system sweeps those dew points out. Then they start to surge again. This is getting into the 9th, the 10th. And do we have anything major? Not on this run, but I would be very quick to say not so fast with something like that. We've seen a lot of big runs from the GFS. This is what you're looking at now. We've seen a lot of big runs beforehand, but if you can tell here, these little surges of moisture we're getting down here in the kind of the deep south and the southeast are from those little short waves that roll through, and it just remains moist in the southern tier of the country. So that sets the stage well for talking about what the actual radar could look like over the next couple of days. So here we go. This is the European model starting off right now, or this is actually about tomorrow morning. So you can see all of these areas of orange and red and green in this area right here could be severe storms. So those are there. And then it's a very transient system on the 5th, but here's what we got. The evening of the 5th, we have these storms down here in the Texas and Oklahoma vicinity along the Red River, and they kind of go up into Canada. They go up into Kansas. So there's our severe threat for then is also supported by the Euro. And then we get into the 6th. I mean, this is the threat for the 6th. That big short wave going, gets that low pressure going well to the north, the severe weather to the south, and even a shot of snow on the northern side of it because it's cold enough. And so you move past that. There's more repeated severe threats. This is the morning of the 7th. This is the evening of the 7th. We have severe storms dropping down to the kind of Mississippi River Valley areas. And does anything happen after? Well, yeah, if you look down here in the southeast, there's still activity remaining. And then we get this to happen. The models have been showing this, guys, for a very long time. And I want to speak on the potential of it because something like this is very possible. where you've got a low pressure in the middle, you got an area of snow, even a blizzard on the north side if it's windy enough. And then you have severe weather down to the south side of it. And in the 10th through 12th time frame, a lot of models show something like this. And you move past it, it even gets severe weather all the way to the eastern seaboard. So big expansive system there. You can see by these dotted blue lines that there's cold air dropping in behind. That's what these indicate. Even pretty far south, so the central areas of Alabama here, pretty far south, but it moderates pretty quickly. But this is what I'm talking about. We could have, I say this is what I'm talking about. I am, I'm seeing some sort of pattern change in the middle of the month, even if it's short and it changes right back. I see us going from really just well above average to some sort of boundary setting up in the middle of the country, where you have cold up air up there and warm air down here. And we'll have to watch for that because if that does happen, it'll bring back the potential for snow. And that's what the Euro is kind of hinting at here. There could still be severe weather with this, but we have snow on the northern side of these systems. Even down here on this run in areas of Arkansas. Not sure if I buy that, but hey, it is still very much an option. And that's the last frame. So what about the GFS models starting off tomorrow morning as well? Shows all of this moisture associated with our system uh, for tomorrow and into the 5th. And here's that moisture for the 5th, that big slight risk that we have in the Oklahoma and Texas Panhandle. And then there's more moisture getting into between Friday and Saturday. Something seems to happen. And then on Saturday, definitely something happens. I have a big area of moisture down here. And maybe we enter a lull or something. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. Take this frame right here. This is the time frame we were watching for some sort of big winter storm and severe storms to be going on with a low pressure right here in the middle. Well, it's changed on this latest run of the GFS a little bit. Our cold air is relegated up here, so we still have some. Our low pressure is down here, so it's there. It's in a different place though. And the reason for that is, like I just explained, the trough ejection here just is not as favorable for the severe weather. And however, it doesn't really matter as we move past that and separate little systems roll in and they can get more severe weather going on their own between the 12th and 13th right there. It does bring a big snowstorm for the north. It just takes it a little bit of time to do so. But again, as we get after that, it does look colder. Although on the GFS run here, it doesn't look all that cold. We don't really seem to cool down by that much on the GFS, which is a difference. It has been showing something different than that in the past several runs. So something to consider there. So moving past that, I want to show you guys some of our risk areas on a higher resolution scale here. This is the RRFSA model. This is today's outlook. And this is just starting off this evening. This is the latest as of the time I'm recording this video. There could be changes, but regardless, here we go. So the RRFSA is indicating that sometime overnight, as we're getting into early tomorrow morning, that's when we could actually have our storms fire off, and these could produce some hail and maybe damaging winds. That's what they're calling for. Well, then we would transition to our day 2 outlook, right? So this is for later in the day. This is for Wednesday, tomorrow. And so you watching that yellow risk there. There are storms that fire here. Down in the central areas of Texas here, between San Angelo, Waco, and Fort Worth, a cluster of storms fires on this run, not a forecast, not final, getting to tomorrow afternoon or so. And there are storms that ride through that area. And because of that, that's why we keep having confidence in this. Although there are models, there are solutions indicating, and I'm going to do a little drawing here for just a second, that we might be too capped. And what capping means, this region right here is warm and dry a lot of the time. Obviously, there are exceptions to that rule, but it's typically warm and dry. And our 700 millibar flow, about 3 kilometers off the surface, 1.5, 2 miles off the surface, will be oriented like this, just feeding off of the higher terrain out west. And that brings something called an EML into place, elevated mixed layer. Mixed means that it is warmer and drier. And if you have that layer just above the surface, storms can struggle to fire and maintain themselves. And I think that might be what we're seeing when it comes to the coverage of an event like this. There are some, but just not as much. But this right here is getting into our Thursday morning or so. Let's switch to that outlook. So this is where we have that big outlook for areas further to the west. And do we get anything to fire off? Well, yes. The RRFSA says yes, and I would want to watch these for more discrete, isolated development. It does develop some sort of linear MCS in Kansas. Not final, but I do think we could have more damaging wind potential up in Kansas here if this plays out this way. And this takes us out through, well, let's see here. Yeah, it takes us out through the evening of the next day. So not a whole lot going on. So there's that. There's a higher resolution look. So let's look at a little bit of AI model guidance, okay? This is starting off with the European AI. The reason I show you guys this is because AI is typically pretty good at pattern recognition. So maybe it can give us some hints, if you will. So this is starting off tomorrow morning. And it shows, just look in the central plains here, you'll just see a lot of moisture. And most every day, it just supports our severe weather threat of some kind on some scale. It's getting to the 8th and 9th. And then between the 10th and the 11th, on this run, the trough ejects well. It ejects at the right time, so you have an expansive area of wintry precipitation as well as severe weather on the southern side. So this is one of those kind of hypothetical bang scenarios where something huge could happen. And it rolls through. And again, this shot of cold air, denoted by this bold blue line here, drops down to the central Gulf Coast states. I mean, very far south, especially for this time of year. So that's why I think it's important that you guys don't necessarily plant anything. Not yet. Not anything that could be damaged by frost. We could get more frost in the south, guys. I'm not talking about a Gulf Coast freeze once again. Maybe. I don't see that coming. So the AI GFS here is what we got. Again, just look in the central plains, you'll see a lot of activity. And we get out to the 10th and the 11th. So it's a kind of in-between scenario. We have our cold air starting to dip right here, but our moisture doesn't line up with it. We have a thin band of snow. This would be severe down here, but the dots don't connect in the same way. So I have to watch for that. But this does even get some sort of moisture bomb, maybe even severe threat over to the eastern seaboard along with it. So something to consider there. So let's discuss why. I think that's a big reason for discussion here. Knowing why things are happening is important. So what you're looking at here is the European ensemble, very reliable thing to look at. And the mid-levels, 500 millibars, once again, your height anomaly. So areas you see in red, like over the eastern U.S. here, that's a ridge of higher pressure, and that brings warmer than average temperatures. Think about it that way. And you see this blue poking in the western areas of the U.S. here. That's a trough of lower pressure that can bring cooler air, cooler than average temperatures. Starting off tomorrow morning, and right off the dot, you can see something. There's a feature right there, kind of a kink in our flow, if you will. So that is associated with the next couple days worth of severe threat. And you move that on, it moves in, moves out. Then we get into the Friday the 6th, and we have we have a signal here for a big area of low pressure to drop down to the southern and central Rockies over the Four Corners region. And if this ejects right, this would bring that like GFS type scenario on this Friday or Saturday, where we have a higher end severe scenario. 84 hours away, guys. Not that far. But on this run, it kind of sits there, and then it bogs down to the south of that Baja lows, getting into the 9th, the 10th, and then it kind of ejects, getting into the 11th. So our ensemble guidance here has not let up on the idea of this low sitting down here as this main trough pivots through. It does want to connect these dots. So you have one big trough. It wants to do that. So there's some continuity's sake, for continuity's sake, we do have that, and that's a positive. So we get into the 14th, and we just have extended troughing in the northern areas. So right here, it's the last frame of it. This is what it tells me is going on. These areas right down here could be above average still, maybe even up into like the Carolinas specifically. And then anywhere else runs the risk of below average temperatures, kind of suddenly. So let's look at them. This is temperatures, and this is anomalies. So areas you see in red are above average, areas you see in blue are below. And this is starting off now and moving on. So you'll see a lot of red on this map, because I think that's going to be a predominant pattern type over the next couple of weeks. A lot of red. But you can see how with this energy dropping down to the Baja California regions, it does bring some cooler air with it. And this could set up some sort of baroclinic boundary here, baroclinic boundary. It's called a front or where a surface low pressure develops for more severe weather. But I want to note, guys, these values right here, these dark browns over the Midwest are like upwards of 30 to 35 degrees above average, like ridiculously above average for this time of year. We're talking very, very warm, maybe even 80s up that far north, if it happens that way. I just want to keep that in mind. Then we get into the 9th, the 10th, something happens, something changes. Still warm, but you see some blue starting to enter the picture, and it does. It enters the picture hard, at least for central areas of the country. Big boundary sets up right in here. And where this boundary sets up will be important because that'll determine where our rain and snow lines are. But regardless, big shot of cold air drops in behind this and kind of sections out the country, if you will, cuts it in half. And we can move past that. It does drop this cooler air all the way down to the southeast. So it's a pretty far southward shot of it. Now we get into the 12th, the 14th. We still have below average temperatures in the central and northern central United States. Just take this out to the end frame here, and this is exactly supported by our upper air pattern here. These areas are above still, and then these areas up here are not. They're below average. So it does section out the country pretty well here. And if this happens, you would want to watch for a lot more winter weather potential in the northern tier of the country. That's what you would really want to watch for. So to sum all that up, let's look at our activity map, right? This right here is what I like to call our activity map. That's our total precipitation that falls between now and the next, let's change models here. The next little bit of time, couple of weeks, it can range a little bit. So I'm going to show you the European ensemble. I had something else pulled up, and I'll show it to you later. This might be a bit conservative, I honestly think. I think we could have more than this. But you can see from the southern plains all the way up through the northeast, there's a corridor of a lot of moisture to be had. And this likely would fall mostly in this region as rain. So you could have flooding potential. This is likely much needed across a lot of these areas. But this is just a map of our total activity. Because again, an active day of weather is defined by rain or snow or hail, some sort of precipitation. And this is going to pick up on all of it. What this supports right here is low pressure forms down here in the central plains and then just ejects off to the north and then continues moving, bringing with it a ton of Gulf air. It's just loaded with moisture. And that's why you have so much of it. So I just think that there's a lot of potential for a lot of activity. And we'll go back to what I was going to show you. This is the national blend of models. This is a shorter time scale, I will add. This is only 260 hours, not 360 hours. There's a whole 100 hours missing. We still have higher totals here. Tells you something. But it really highlights the southern plains and the Midwest as two specific bullseyes. A lot of activity. And to speak on snow, I don't want to do this overly so because we are leaving winter behind. But we do have potential for snow. And this is between now and the next 260 hours. The northern plains, the central and northern plains absolutely have potential to see snow of measurable quantity over the next couple of weeks. And so does the northeast. As these storms kind of make their way up there, they definitely could produce snow up in the northeast. Obviously, Canada's still lit up here, higher elevations out west, but still, we do have our signal here for snow on the northern side of these systems. All that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you tuning in and chatting with me. So I will have you guys a video out tomorrow morning about 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, just to go over all of the day's weather, any hazards we may have. So tune into that if you are interested. And if nothing else, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.